Yves Saint Laurent's use of the exotic was deeply rooted in the French artistic and literary tradition of Orientalism. Within this tradition, clothing, punctuated by distinctive accessories, prints, and vibrant colors, plays a crucial role in creating an exotic fantasy that is immediately recognizable to a Western audience. As you know, modern Western fashion effectively originated in the early 20th century, stemming from revolutionary ideas, advanced at this time pertaining to structures of women's dress, that diverged radically from previous Western clothing ideals. During this period, there were also perceived trends in Orientalism and exoticism, interest in and emulation of Eastern or foreign styles in Western society. So, Saint Laurent turned to exoticism during the 1960s in order to challenge the traditional evening gown. By the mid-1970s, he was using the exotic to inform some of his most opulent and fantastical creations, such as his ballets Russe and Opium Couture collections. During this period, Rive Gauche was Saint Laurent's laboratory, a place where he could experiment freely with new themes and ideas. In 1963, Saint Laurent was a fledgling designer, only having left the nest of the house of Christian Dior 3 years previously. Despite disliking travel intensely, he journeyed to Japan, ostensibly to host fashion shows as part of a major deal between his brand and Seibu department stores. While his shows were a resounding success, the Tokyo show even making it into Yukio Mishima's 1963 novel The School of Flesh, according to Janssen, it was Kyoto that became Saint Laurent's favorite memory of Japan, and throughout his life, he cherished a beautifully bound leather portfolio containing snapshots of the trip. Through his vast collection of books, films and the Chinese artworks he shared with Pierre Berger, Yves Saint Laurent constructed an imaginary China in the Autumn-Winter 1977 collection. Though references had also been included in earlier collections, such as his Autumn-Winter 1970 collection. The show for the so-called Chinese collection, which lasted more than 2 hours on the catwalk, was a stunning display of opulence, fabrics and colors, which included jade green, bronze, lacquer red and opiate grays. The parade took viewers back to the court of Kublai Khan, the Tatars, the Mongols, the samurai, the dignitaries of imperial China. Nothing was classical or measured. All these inspirations drew a stream of superlatives from the press. In Le Figaro, Helene de Turckheim wrote, "This is no longer fashion. You'll forget that these are clothes. It becomes a sort of reverie, at times hazy, at times dazzling." Even Madame Felisa, the new head of the workshop, formerly with Balenciaga, declared, "I'm almost drunk, this man has an orgy of ideas, he is exploding." In 1978, the designer remarked in an interview that keeping a distance from China had allowed him to roam free in his imagination and recreate the image of the country through his fashion. He referenced the Orient through the use of floral prints and dragon motifs, as well as motifs found on ancient vases from the Han Dynasty, or the jade marbled by disc from the Lion Shu. Instead of trying to recreate authentic historical garments, he adapted the loose-fitting clothing, characteristic of Chinese Han jackets, retaining their straight cut, volume and wide sleeves, but using Western construction techniques. He referenced the long loose tunic and T-shaped sleeves of the imperial robe, retaining their straight cut and wide sleeves to give them a more masculine look. The collar, which fastened on the side, evoked the dragon robes of the Manchurian dynasty, 1644 to 1912. This catwalk show, worthy of a theatrical performance, concluded with a monumental bride sporting an enormous bow of her back that made her look like an apparition or an angel. Talking about Yves Saint Laurent's Spring-Summer 1988 collection, it was marked the 40th anniversary of Yves Saint Laurent Couture career. He had presented his first collection in January 1958, after succeeding Christian Dior at the head of the Dior fashion house. The show was short, with fewer than 60 looks. It was a summary of the classics: pale skirt suits, grey or navy trousers, tunic dresses, a single tuxedo, and sheath dresses and paletot coats for evening. WWD paid homage to Saint Laurent's classicism. Despite all its recent changes, the couture has many constants, and a Saint Laurent collection is one of them. Season after season, he stakes a claim for sane clothes in a crazy world. When the press referred to the colors in the collection, they compared them to the palettes of Seurat, Manet or Matisse. Evening dresses were adorned with abstract flower designs in bright, intermingling colors. In Le Figaro, Saint Laurent said, "If I played with all the colors, it was to brighten up the street and life." A series of tunic dresses in Shantung gave the catwalk an oriental flavor, an impression that was enhanced by pointed Chinese-style hats in dyed banana fiber, sometimes worn tilted backwards. Jewelry mixed coral branches, rock crystal, lapis lazuli and passementerie cording, referencing a hinted at exoticism. Once again it was the bride who wore the heart, Laetitia Castor, appearing for the first time in a Yves Saint Laurent show, in a white couture lace dress with a neat bust and a long flared skirt. Like the can-can dancer La Galou, she wore her hair in a high chignon, covered in giant roses. The show ended on this joyful and piquant note. Thus, Oriental and exotic sources provided inspiration for draping techniques that led to more creative use of fabric, as well as straight-cut techniques that allowed for a looser garment structure, concepts that resonated in the fashion industry both in Yves' time and today.